Welcome back everyone to another in my aviation history series, and this is episode 17 of my RCAF unit history. Today we'll be looking at 413 Squadron, a unit that has been in almost continuous operation since its formation during World War II. But before we get too far into this, my name is Sean and this is Sean's Aviation. 413 Squadron was formed on July 1st of 1941 at Stranraer, Scotland as the RCAF's 3rd Coastal Command Squadron and the first overseas unit to be designated for flying boat operations. They received their first aircraft, Catalina Mark 1s, that month and were assigned the unit code QL. They flew their first mission on October 6th when they were tasked with a convoy escort. However, the convoy never left port and the aircraft were recalled. While many convoy escort and anti-submarine missions were flown, very little contact with the enemy were recorded, and there is only one possible damaged U-boat being recorded. On October 1st, the unit moved to the Shetland Islands and was based here until March of 1942. On March 14th, the unit began a hurried redeployment to the Far East as the RAF was quickly expanding their presence after the US entered the war in December of 1941 and the Pacific conflict became more and more pressing. The unit was based at Kogaluk, Ceylon, modern-day Sri Lanka, and quickly began patrol the Indian Ocean and Bay of Bengal for Japanese ships. On April 4th, only 2 days after arriving, Squadron Leader Britchall sighted a large force of 350 Japanese ships and quickly radioed the report back to base. The aircraft was subsequently shot down by Japanese aircraft and the crew was taken prisoner, but his warning allowed Ceylon to prepare for the force, which was repulsed, and thus saving Ceylon from invasion. The unit spent the rest of the war located at Kogala, but there were detachments located in the Seychelles, Mombasa, Bahrain, and South Africa. In May of 1943, the unit acquired a modified and stripped down ex-BOAC, or British Overseas Airway Company, Catalina, registration GAGFM, and used this aircraft to reopen an air route between Ceylon and Australia. The first flight was on May 3rd, and the aircraft took 34 hours non-stop to reach Perth, returning on May 12th. The second flight took place on May 31st, returning June 9th, and the third on June 16th, returning on the 26th. These flights aided in getting mail and supplies back and forth faster and much safer than a ship journey. As the war continued, the unit flew patrol and anti-submarine flights, but there was a definite lack of Japanese shipping in these areas as the war went on, and very little action was seen by the unit. Their last operational mission was flown during the night of December 3rd, 4th, when they investigated a report of Japanese subs, but nothing was seen. On January 21st of 1945, with the lack of action and their need diminished, the unit began the process to relocate back to England by ship, leaving the aircraft in the Pacific Theater. While at sea, on February 18th, the unit was officially transferred to RCAF 6 Group and redesignated as a bomber squadron and were tasked with the continued night bombing of German-held territory. The unit arrived at the new base, Bournemouth, on February 21st, but had no aircraft assigned to them. On February 23rd, just 2 days later, it was announced that the unit would be disbanded, as it was clear that the Third Reich would not survive much longer. During World War II, the unit flew 871 operational sorties, amassing 11,794 operational hours. They dropped 52 depth charges, and as mentioned, there was one U-boat possibly damaged. The unit lost 3 aircraft, with 27 aircrew either killed, missing, or prisoners of war. The post-war life of 413 began on April 1st of 1947 when the unit took over the duties of No. 13 Photographic Unit at Rockcliffe, was assigned the squadron code AP, and flew Mitchell, Norseman, and Cansos during survey, mapping, and photography duties across Canada. In January of 1948, they received Lancasters and used these to help map much of Canada's Arctic, taking advantage of the longer range these had, but they were handed off to other units by April, with the Mitchells being retired in October. In April of 1949, the unit received a Dakota aircraft, and using this, along with the Cansos, they helped to relocate and resupply survey teams as they worked their way across Canada's vast terrain. In July of 1950, the unit took part in Operation Polko, a mission to help locate the magnetic North Pole, which was successful. This is important as magnetic north migrates slowly, and knowing the current location is critical when navigating in the vast stretches of Canada's north. The unit was disbanded at Rockcliffe on November 1st of 1950. It was quickly reformed on August 1st of 1951 at Bagotville as a Sabre Squadron, and they deployed to Zweibrücken, Germany, as part of Leapfrog 3 in March of 1953. For an overview of Operation Leapfrog, check out my video here. They stayed in Europe on guard in the event of a Soviet invasion of Western Europe until April 7th of 1957, when they were disbanded and replaced by a CF-100 all-weather fighter unit. 413 itself was reactivated less than a month later, on May 1st, as a CF-100 unit at Bagotville, and acted as an all-weather fighter unit as part of the NORAD shield against Soviet bombers coming across the poles. It continued to do this until 1960, when it was again disbanded during a cost-cutting measure by the RCAF. The next 7 years was the longest the unit went disbanded, and it was reformed on July 8th of 1968, just after the unification of the Canadian Forces, as a search and rescue unit, and was assigned the CH-113 Labrador. It was based at CFB Summerside and provided coverage for most of the East Coast. It also flew the Buffalo while based at Summerside, but I am unable to find firm dates for when it actually entered service. In 1991, when Summerside was closed, the unit relocated to CFB Greenwood, retiring the Buffaloes, and are still based at this unit today. In 2002, with the retiring of the CH-113, the unit re-equipped with the CH-149 Cormorant, which is what they still fly to this day. The unit suffered a fatal crash on July 13th of 2006, the first for a CH-149 in RCAF use, when one crashed during a training exercise, killing 3 of the crew. The unit also operates C-130s in the SAR role, but again, I'm unable to find a date for when these actually joined the unit. Together, the CH-149s and C-130s of 413 allow it to cover almost 4.7 million square kilometers of Canada's east coast, from Nova Scotia to Iqaluit to Quebec City. As one of only 3 units flying the Cormorant, unless there is a massive reorganization of the RCAF SAR units, we should see 413 flying for many years. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.